Making sure that it's going. And yes, we are live. Well, cool. Welcome, everybody. Those that are joining us early, those that are joining us late. Welcome to the Making Awesome Podcast, Season 2, Episode 7. We have the, I'm going to go with illustrious, I'm going with it, Synthetic Ephemera. She is here hanging out with us today. We're going to be talking all about resin. And you said you've watched a few of our episodes before, so do you know what I mean when I say give us the Backstreet Boys?
No, I think
Who
I've
you
missed
are,
that
where you're
one.
from, what you've been, and as long as you love me.
So, yeah, I think I've missed those.
Yeah, normally I wait like a minute or two, but I'm jumping right in. Let's just go for it.
So, yeah, I'm Synthetic Ephemera. I primarily print dolls and doll props. I also do sculpting work, and I act as a print service for other people who have their own models that they want printed. And I've been doing this since 2015, I
Wow,
think.
quite a while.
Yeah. Started out with a single Prusa Mark II, and now we have 9 machines total.
Oh, so you did start on the FDM side then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you pure resin at this point, or are you
Nope.
still mixing?
Still mixing. Pretty much depends on what our clients need. So
How much detail do you need? Do you need individual phalange manipulation detail? You're not getting that on FDM.
Yeah.
Not a snowball's chance. Yeah, that's always a fun one. When people reach out, they're like, yeah, I need this level of detail. I'm like,
and I only want it to cost this much. Well.
Oh, well, you know, we weren't even getting to the cost part of it. That's, you know, that just
That's usually
is
what it is, though. They want X level of detail, but they don't want it to cost a lot. And I'm like, well, we can go this far with detail and have it not cost that much, but you're gonna be sanding a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Maker Vikings here. Hey, Maker Viking, how you doing? But yeah, I definitely have this same thing. It's like, all right, I understand that you want to keep it cheap. We're all about keeping it cheap. Or let me rephrase that, more affordable, because cheap is definitely a wrong connotation. It is difficult, to say the least, to say, all right, you can get it this way, and it will be effectively injection molding quality, a little bit of sanding on the supports, and that's really about it. If they don't want to pay for it on our side, because we, of course, will finish the parts, you know, the way that they want. But a lot of times they don't want to do that. Or you can do it FDM, where you might sit there and ride the struggle bus for a few hours, for sure. So
develop early carpal tunnel for one part.
Gosh. Yeah, and you will have a very intimate relationship with a pair of flush cutters as part of your like resin printing future. And I would love to get some tool tips from you as well at some point to be like, all right, so I love the Hako, flush cuts, but I know you've got a brand that you're like, these are the best. I have been using these 30,000 cuts a day for the last 7 years.
It's whatever these are.
It's the Hakos.
I have like 8 of these that get sent with the printers. There's like 2 in my drawer next to me. There's another 4 in the printing room.
Have you ever broken a jaw on them?
Yes.
They break for like, you're like, I'm just going to cut this resin. Snaps pliers.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the resin won this round.
Yeah. I've broken a couple. And I've broken a few, the scrapers, the paint scrapers, getting parts off boards.
How? Like, you've chipped scrapers?
Yeah, I've been pulling the part off, and it's the board, or the scraper is split in half.
Oh my. That's
part really didn't want to come off the board.
No, that's a part that is very much on a so nerd. You're about to learn the hard way of what spring steel really is.
Yeah.
I have never, and like in my experience of all three, I have never once
I
done
ended up
that.
having to soak that board in acetone to get the part off.
Oh, so this was FDM.
No, it was resin.
Does acetone attack resin the same way that it attacks like FDM parts?
Mm-hmm.
So that resin print was gone too.
Yeah, it was gone.
Because I see people using acetone as a washing material. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea.
If you soak it long, it takes longer to eat it away, but
Mm-hmm.
if you soak it long enough, it will eat at it. I don't have any up here. It was an eyeball. I know that doesn't help, but it's basically just think of a half dome, or a half sphere, and it was flat to the board, and it just, there was no way it was coming off without
gentle physical persuasion.
Yeah. I asked it nicely, and it told me to go to hell.
Jeez. Yeah, no thanks on that. That's yeah, nope. See, for me, it's I'm using the scrapers, and then all of a sudden the part releases, and I've still got a fair bit of force. Boom! No, it's into my own hand.
Oh, yeah, I did that last night. I did that last night. I have a hole in my hand from doing that last night.
Is this why we can't have nice things?
Yeah, this is why we can't have nice things.
I've always said use a cutting glove, but like for resin, I refuse to use a cutting glove.
Yeah.
If I'm using a cutting glove, it is underneath another glove. Like exactly how you would do it in food service, where your cutting glove is on the inside.
And then you've got the plastic one over it, or the vinyl. Yeah.
Because like
I should probably do that.
You know, look, an ounce of prevention, right?
Right.
But I think a lot of us learn these lessons the hard way, right? You know, we literally make a meme out of resin is toxic. Like, we've got a whole thing, and I really do need to put it in OBS so I can have it come up on screen.
Just in the background.
Yeah, because it's like dark red letters, and it's like boom, boom, boom. Resin is toxic. And like the patrons want us to make t-shirts with it on there, right?
That would be fantastic. Yes.
Which is hilarious. It should also be pretty much an obvious thing, right? Would you go drink 2-part epoxy resin? No? Then why don't not drink the forbidden milkshake? Right? Because,
oh yeah, especially with some of the concoctions that I make with the glitter that look like just absolute delicious candy.
Let's talk about
you're
that
like,
real quick.
I really want to drink this, but no.
There's the the quote that we use. I really want to drink this, but no. Promise I won't use that. But that is the thing, right? You are kind of I don't know if I'm going to say it the right way. The queen of mix-ins, right? That is your specialty. You have effectively pioneered this whole idea of, guess what? Resin does not have to be the color that you bought it in. It does not have to have that same surface finish that you bought it in. It does not even need... You can add anything you want to it. You're going to, as far as I'm aware, drastically raise the level of, like, care and need for it.
Oh, yeah.
Than you would if you were just printing normally. But quite literally, the sky's the limit here, right?
For the most part. I mean, as long as it fits within a layer, you can put it in the machine. So, you know, you're not going to be able to put, like, beads and stuff in the resin, but...
I mean, if you were running
at
really
least
thick
I
layers,
haven't...
you could.
Yeah, if you were running really thick layers, you could put probably seed beads in the resin. I haven't tried it yet, but...
That's why we got to get you that SL1S where it could do the 200 micron layers.
Yeah, exactly.
But you couldn't color... I think at that point... Uh-oh. Oh, we're good.
No, you could.
Okay. I lost me for a little bit there.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on.
You should be able to... Oh, is it still...
No. We're good. I lost me for a second. We're okay. I'm gonna stop. I was recording on our end, so I'm just gonna stop the recording on our end. But you know, we look at what is possible, and when you want to do those thick layers, you don't really have a choice. You are basically stuck at using clear resin, right?
No, I've put mica Yeah, I've put mica in opaque resin and not had any issue. I've put glitter in opaque resin and not have had any issue.
I could see glitter, but does the percentage of mica have to go up when you're using an opaque resin versus a?
If you really want it to like punch you in the face show, yes. If you just want like a light kind of sparkle to it, not really. I put about the same amount that I do in resin, in clear resin. I don't have her. I have somewhere. I have a blue. It's the Prusa Azure blue that they sent with the machines that I dumped mica in, and she's sparkly. She looks like an icicle.
Can we talk about the mix-ins and kind of what got you to even saying I want to do this, or I really want to just dial it to 11 in terms of difficulty, but then why you kept with it?
So I'm in a hobby that has casted resin dolls. You can probably see a few of them on the shelf in the background. And in the last, I'd say 15 years of the hobby, using clear resins with things inside of them, glitter, beads, things like that, has become much like the poured resin art things have happened. Is the same with the casted resins. And I was like, I want to do that. How can I translate this into the printed dolls? And I literally had some nail art powder, like the mica that you rub on, and some chunky, it's like shredded mylar, opalescent mylar. We call it unicorn glitter. I threw those in the vat of my Moai and just hoped it would come out.
You're like, F it, I'm just gonna send it. I don't care.
It was a vat that was on, it was an old PDMS vat that was on its last leg.
Oh, man.
That we were gonna chuck anyway, so if it messed the vat up, I didn't really care, and it worked. And so I started to refine the process from there, because it was the first one that printed. There were a lot of issues. There was like holes in it and things like that, but it was sparkly. And the glitter was in it, and the mica was in it, and it dyed it. And I went from clear glitter to this like cobalt blue color. And so I just started refining the process from there, because I was like, well, it works, and the machine didn't explode on me, and the laser isn't fried, and
those are all the things that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
The pool of resin is still
in the vat
full.
where it belongs. Yeah. The tank didn't crack, and there's not fumes. So
now, when did you start getting into doping the resin? Because I know, like, we recommend to people look at doping your resin. And Bill Todd asked this question of, any tips for changing the material properties? He's managed to soften some clear anycubic resin with too much ink.
Yeah, you get oversaturation. Using the acrylic inks will do that too. You get kind of a rubbery consistency.
You have to use alcohol ink, right?
Even the acrylic inks that don't have alcohol in it, the Liquitex acrylic ink, the high flows, I guess they have such a high water content that it causes the resin to go kind of spongy when it's cured.
Right. Yeah.
The alcohol inks will definitely make your stuff spongy and even crack on cure if you use too much of it. The inks that I use are oil based.
Okay.
So I haven't had any issue yet of them really changing the property of the resin.
Searches for a piece of wood to knock on, right?
Yeah, right. So, if you're going for softer, there's resin mixes out there. Like if you want your part to be kind of tougher and I guess have more bounce, you do, there's the rubber resins, or not really. Well, they're not really. They're more like, I guess, elastic resins.
Yeah, the tough resins. Psoriatech's kind of the company that I look at for.
That's all I use.
It's I've got some See, my resin is literally within reach, so I can grab
Yeah.
it. I've got some of this old monoprice resin that I have basically refused to open at this point because Psoriatech just works.
It works.
And it is now the one thing I've noticed. Psoriatech Settings, I can't necessarily say let's consider these gospel.
I will start, especially with the additives, I will start at their base and I will usually have to go plus minus depending on which machine I'm working on, probably 5 to 10 in either direction. Like with the MSLA machines, it's usually like a couple more seconds cure time on initial layers. With the Moais, I'm having to raise the laser power by like 2 points. So it's not a huge...
That's not that bad.
No, it's not drastic.
Are you using the Amerilabs Toontown test print that a lot of us use to dial in resin, or are you just sending it and seeing how it looks?
I just send it and see how it looks because I'm impatient.
I was impatient until I started playing with casting resin. So for those that are listening audio only, I am holding up some casting resin from Psoriatech. This is Psoriatech Cast. And, yeah. I had like 6 failed prints before I'm like, all right. I should not just keep... And they're little tiny rings.
Yeah.
But good lord, like, vroom settings and all that, where you're really, like, moving that build, does not work for cast. Will not work.
No, it's got to be slow.
50 millimeters a second or less.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was a good experience because those are rings. They are jewelry. They are in casting resin. Boy, I wonder what they're going to be used for.
Yeah.
Because previously we were doing regular resin prints, just straight raw resin for burnout. And you can sometimes, if you can heat it hot enough, completely and cleanly burn out regular resin. But with the amount of effort that you have to put into it, it's not worth it. It's like double the price to go with casting resin. Psoriatech resin's about $30 a liter last I checked. Cast was $73 delivered.
Yeah.
From Psoriatech's website. If you don't need it fast, go buy it direct from Psoriatech. They ship it from Amazon, but it's like $3 or $4 cheaper because they're not paying Amazon fees on that anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
haven't had
agree.
a chance to play with it, but I mean, if it's anything like the rest of their resins, I've seen what people have been doing with it, so I know it works. But yeah, I mostly play in the fast and simple with a little bit of blue and tenacious thrown in, depending on the project.
I love blue, except when it's cold, except when I want to breathe, except when
I was gonna say the smell.
Accurate. So I kind of hate blue. For those that don't know, blue is Psoriatech's tough resin, and tough is correct. We have some dice that we made, and I initially was going to print it out of blue. I'm like, oh yeah, let's print it out of blue. Oh my god. Could not get clean layers, could not get, anything valuable out of it, because it needed to be dimensionally accurate. But I found mixing blue, like you said, with regular resin, you can buff regular resin to make it quite a bit nicer. Personally, I am all about tenacious in regular resin. But we were talking a little bit before we started about the mix-ins and how they cause problems, because my thought was, well, hey, if I'm going to be putting glitter and mica and literally abrasives into something where your entire goal is not to create abrasions on your FEP film, that there might be some problems here. Can you talk? Because I was surprised, and I bet the audience would be surprised too, about where the failure mode occurs with mica and with glitter inside of these vats.
So at least in the MSLA vats, which are built differently than the SLA vats, the failure point isn't in the printable space for the resin, which is where your vat sits against the FEP. It's actually on the lip where the FEP and the metal meet. So you've got your vat sides, and the FEP goes up, and you've got your bracket. And I actually have I have one of my SL1 vats here that I can show that has, it doesn't have a ton of glitter in it because this isn't one that I use for a whole lot, but it has some glitter in it. But basically this line here, this edge where the metal and the FEP meet, is where all the failures that I've ever had with glitter printing have happened. It's never happened on this part.
And for those that don't know, a FEP film, I don't even know what FEP stands for, but it's a film. It's a clear plastic film, and it is stretched tightly around a vat, and then there's a plate of screws that are used to tension it. So it is basically wrapped around a corner. And you want that because you want that really, really tight wrapping. But when you have abrasion, you've got a problem. Because remember, in most resin printing, and I'm going to say most because consumer grade resin printing is all like this, you are lifting off of an FEP vat. You are not printing into a vat full of liquid. You are lifting away. So you have to peel away from that FEP. And that means that FEP is moving ever so slightly quite a few times, right? It is flexing. And that flexing is effectively causing the glitter to just ram itself into the FEP.
Yeah.
That's some bad news, bears. Because what happens when a vat fails?
Depending on the size of the failure, the hole, little leak, or the entire resin vat ends up inside the printer where you don't want it. All over the screen, down into
it just gets everywhere. And because it's so thin,
bad.
It literally does leak into everything.
Yeah.
I've seen, particularly on Formlabs printers, but the older ones before they put the glass plate over the laser, where the vat would break and it would just dump resin into the laser and the galvo.
Yep. And you're not cleaning that out because it's still running usually while it's happening. So it's curing.
Yeah, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's if you're there when it happens, you do that. If you're not there when it happens, you come back and you're like, well, that sucks.
Now the benefit of it occurring on an MSLA is that generally speaking, it's going to fail where it's printing. And so if you're lucky, an area around the hole and the hole gets exposed
and seals itself.
It seals itself. Now your print's gone at that point.
Yeah,
that print,
and your screen usually.
I have never had a screen fail because of a failure like that. I have dropped a build plate on my screen.
Oh.
And actually, for those that don't know, Brad, who's on our team, Brad's gonna come get that printer. But I'm like, wait a minute, I have a YouTube channel now. So we're going to actually do the repair for a video. We're going to talk about changing out a screen for a video, and I'm going to have Brad do it because I believe it is easy enough that a kid can do it.
It is.
But we run OG Elegoo Marses because they still haven't died yet. I've had one die from the screen just finally dying because those are LCDs. Those are not monos.
Yeah.
And I've killed 2 by dropping the build plate onto the screen.
I've had one fail because of resin, and again, it was where on the edge where it leaked. It actually cured to the very upper edge of the screen, and when I pulled it off, it ripped part of the screen. Didn't rip the screen out, it ripped part of the screen out. And here's a testament to Prusa's screens. The screen still worked. And I printed on it for another 2 weeks while I waited for my replacement to come in.
And see, that's kind of the benefit of running an LCD screen, is that it's got that piece of glass over it to effectively protect it.
Yeah.
A mono screen. Do any of you have printers with monos, right?
I do not.
No.
I do not.
So there is no protective layer on a mono screen because they rely on that lack of glass to work. So we've got 4 Saturns, a Mono X, and they're all right next to me, so I'm pointing at them. 2, 4, 5 working Elegoo Marses. I still have an original Elegoo Mars in the box.
Oh, wow.
Because when the SL1 came out, I said, all right, as a business, do I want 1 printer or do I want 7? And I went with the 7, and I think I ultimately did not make the right decision because, at least for what we do, it's gray. Everybody wants gray.
Yeah.
Every now and then they want like a white or a clear or something like that, and when I explain to them what is required, they're like, oh yeah, just do it in gray. We don't care. We'll paint it. Because the SL1, it is truly built to be a better machine. Now, I don't mind the Elegumars. I think they're great machines overall, especially at the $200 price point that I bought them for.
Cost.
But I'll tell you, when the screen breaks, I just replaced it. I am not going to fix it. As a business owner, if I paid myself even $25 an hour, which is nothing for a business owner, there is no point in replacing those screens. The screens are like $35. It'll take you about 2 hours to do it. The printer's $200. Just go buy a new dang printer. Bill Todd says he thinks there's a piece of glass below. He says he thinks that there's a piece of glass below the screen on a Saturn. I have a Saturn with an OVAD.
I'd like to know, because that's the next machine we're looking at possibly getting to add.
I'm gonna stand up and check. I don't normally stand up on stream, but you know what? We're gonna do it. So, and the one thing I hate about Elegoo's, the friggin' cover. You have to take it off. Set it somewhere.
All of my doors and lids and stuff on all of our machines are attached, so that's gonna definitely be
that is my
irritant for me.
I wish they had doors that were attached, because realistically, that's where it matters. By the way, have you seen the size of a Saturn vat?
Yeah, and that's primarily why we're looking at one, because I need something in between the size of the Moai and the Phenom. That has the speed, or at least near the speed of the SL1, because...
Oh, I'm doing the internet dirty. I'm peeling off plastic on the screen.
Oh, no.
And they're not able to see it. Hold on. Oh, yeah, there is. There is a piece of glass. Look at that.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, there is a piece of glass. Okay. The other fun thing with build plates is you get to do the nice reverb. The reverb talk.
Yeah.
That was painful. I should not have bent down like that. But okay, so that's good. I know some of them don't. Particularly the big resin printers. You have a Phenom. Does that have a piece?
I do. It does not. It's open underneath the screen. It's an open. At least on now. I have one of the early model Phenoms, and there is a difference, as we found out recently with the upgrade kit. There's a difference between the first gen Phenoms and the later gen Phenoms that they put out. So the later gen ones that have the bracket that the screen sits in, they might have some sort of protection, but mine is literally the screen just kind of sits over the top of the light array, and if anything gets through it.
Then the nice thing is the light arrays on some of the more, like the light arrays on a Mars or a Mars 2 Pro, it's literally just a cob LED with maybe some lenses, but like on an SL1 and SL1S, you don't want resin getting in there.
No, and it's the same on the Phenom. It's open. It's just an array of LEDs.
Yeah.
There's no lenses or anything over it. So if anything gets down in there, it's gonna get onto the LEDs.
I've got an Elegoo Mars that I have pulled apart. It is not close enough where I can grab it. And the one thing I don't do is I don't walk on camera, because I for those that don't know, I have a bad back. I have 2 herniated discs.
Oh.
And I either have to walk with a cane, and the staff have been waiting for me to use my cane on camera, and I don't do it because they want to make a meme of me using my cane on camera, and I've deliberately avoided ever using the cane on camera so that they can't make the meme. But I look like I'm drunk, so I try, and I am stone sober. I don't walk on camera with the cane, but yeah, the Mars is like really, really simple, and I know, and similar to how the Phenom had a revision, the Saturns also had revisions. There were 3 separate revisions to the Saturn, and the only way you know what Saturn you have is to measure the build plate.
Oh, wow.
You can tell it by the serial number 2, but originally you had to quite literally measure the build plate. Sergeant Kill said, "What's with the Mark III that's sitting idle? I don't need to run it." We were going to run it. So actually the machines that are running behind me right now, for those that are watching us on YouTube or Twitch, these are making parts for the IC3D Toys for Tots campaign. So I'm literally paying to do this. We're not getting paid for that. But you know what? It's a lot of fun. It'll be some fun marketing for us. And who doesn't like helping kids? And IC3D sent us a bunch of free filament to do it. So A+ for that. So actually, this time-lapse Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, is going to be the trucks. So we're running a bunch of trucks. That's going to be the time-lapse for Tuesday. So there you go. If you actually also watch our channel religiously, now you know what's coming out on Tuesday. Because the printer directly behind me here is our time-lapse printer. It is a dedicated time-lapse rig. It's got the nice DSLR camera and the clock and all of that. But Synthetic, what have you found to be one of the most difficult things regarding resin 3D printing as a whole, and then when you started experimenting? I want to know both of those.
When I started, it was getting supports right. Really, like, especially coming from an FDM background, moving over into resin printing, because it's a whole, you set things up completely different. You have to think upside down. So that was, getting my brain to not think in FDM terms for supports and stuff was the biggest challenge at first.
What overhangs? You can't do overhangs in resin.
Overhangs.
I mean, you can, but you probably shouldn't.
Yeah. So that, and then now it's matching colors is my biggest issue.
Oh,
like I will get
VATs.
clients. No, not even between VATs. Clients will send in a sample and getting the color match, because when the resin cures, depending on what the color is, it will either slightly darken or slightly lighten. So, and then also you have the transparencies to deal with, because the resin is inherently, even gray resin is just inherently slightly translucent, versus with the casted resins and the vinyls that are in some of the dolls, they're completely opaque. So you have to figure out how to balance that when you're color matching to some of these casted parts and the vinyl parts.
And make no mistake, for those that don't know Synthetic Ephemera, one, go look her up first, right? Because if you are into ball joint dolls and you want quite literally one of the best models that you can get, that they're not going to sell you STLs, or maybe,
no.
I don't think you do.
No,
yeah,
I don't.
I'm pretty certain
STL.
you don't do that.
No.
But if you want to get some of the highest quality ball joint figures out there, period, like, this is where you're going. The detail that you do, it makes me sick sometimes, because I know the amount of effort that's like, all right, I gotta cut the support off this finger, and if I move it even a millimeter in the wrong direction, we're screwed. That is a high heel shoe. She is holding up a high heel shoe that is no bigger than 3 millimeters.
Yeah, it's...
Good Lord have mercy.
And it has spikes on it.
Yeah, I can see the spikes.
It does not want to, because it's so small, my camera's just not.
That is absolutely crazy.
But yeah, there's little spikes across the top, and
so you don't only just make the figures or the dolls, you're also making a lot of accessories too. Props
and accessories and everything. It's an all inclusive, trying to find, I know I have one up here. There's one. If it'll, again, itty bitty.
A ring.
It's a nose ring for a doll.
I want people to understand that I struggle to print like a size 6. Okay, this is a size 6
and that is resin.
Ring.
That is resin printed. That is resin printed. It's not.
You printed what is effectively a size 19x0, right? What is the dimensions on that? Is that can't be bigger than a couple of millimeters in any direction?
That's one of our bigger ones, and I do have smaller. I just don't know where they are.
One of the bigger ones.
God. It's 1 millimeter across.
One freaking millimeter across.
Yeah, the diameter of the circle is 1 millimeter. So the spikes on it are, I have no idea, less than that. by quite a bit.
So you quite literally deal with the pixel size of
Yeah, well, those were actually printed on the Moai with the laser.
with the laser. Yeah, where you'll get a tighter spot size.
I have printed them on the SL1, and yeah, I'm basically at the pixel limit when I print them on the SL1.
Did you see Frozen is launching a Mars size printer with an 8K screen?
I did not.
It is like $600.
I might need to look at that later.
But it's the SL1 build size.
Oh, see, I need bigger.
Yeah, and so normally I say it does not matter if your screen is 2K or 4K. The caveat here is unless you're doing really, really small shit.
Which is what I do.
It is literally what you do. Yeah. Frozen, and so this brings me into our next subject, which is the software, because there's a turf war going on right now between Chi2Box and literally everybody else. The Moai runs its own dedicated software, right? What is that?
It's a hand.
Is that a hand for one of the ball joints?
Yeah. It's a hand.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, that hand is no bigger than 2 or 3 millimeters.
Same hand.
Holy crap.
On the doll.
Yeah, I normally say that resolution doesn't matter because ultimately the average person will not see a difference. You, on the other hand, yeah, give me all the pixels.
I want every single pixel possible.
And like, of course, we've got the Frozen Sonic Mega 8K, we've got the Elegoo Jupiter, we've even got the Elegoo Saturn, but those are 4K for the Saturn and then 8K for the Jupiter. But the Jupiter is so big, you don't really care about your effective resolution, you care about pixel density.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, the spot size on a Moai is like, what, 35 microns or so?
Yeah. And somewhere around there. And when I print those nose rings,
mm-hmm.
I print them at 0.2 for my layer.
Okay. 0.02 you mean?
Yeah, 0.02. Yeah.
So the average layer height, for those that don't know, in resin is 50 microns or 0.05. This is 0.02. So that is less than half of what your traditional layer height normally is inside of resin. So that is a big deal. Now, back to the software. Prusa SL1 uses Prusa Slicer, thank God.
Yeah.
Moai uses...
Moai has Asura, which is the one that they put out, and then you can also slice with Cura if you have the profiles for it, which is what I do, because that's what we had to start with before they put out Asura, and I just got so familiar with it. You get used to it. Yeah.
And then, do you have any of the printers that require Chi2Box?
The Phenom can use the Chi2Box, but I've switched over to Lychee because I hate Chi2.
Are you in the Lychee Discord?
I'd probably not.
Okay. Because I put in their self-promo thing that I'm hanging out with you. But I didn't know to tag you.
Yeah, I don't think I am. I didn't know they had one.
They do, and you might benefit from it because they are releasing private betas in there to anybody in the Discord.
Oh, okay.
I personally don't do it because, like, from a business standpoint, I don't want to screw around. I love Lychee Slicer. Everybody thinks they pay me to say that. They only gave me a free copy of Pro after we did the initial video, and it was only because they saw our video. Like, they don't pay me. I wish they would, but they're good. Like, they're a smaller team. They don't. Yeah. I don't think they've got money to be paying influencers.
My only issue with Lychee is it's subscription based, and I absolutely loathe subscriptions. I'd rather pay a license fee, like a one-time license fee, but...
I mean, on the plus side, it's not that bad.
No, it's not. And the free version's still fantastic.
It is. Yeah, so. I know. I am bummed that they gate the hollowing behind the paid.
I do all my hollowing in ZBrush, so...
Oh, okay. All right. So you are a masochist. Got it.
I very rarely hollow in Slicer. I almost always hollow in because usually when I'm hollowing, I'm building the drain hole into the design, so I need it to be in a specific spot in a specific place. Um, it's
So you're doing custom designs inside a ZBrush, and that way you can effectively control everything, because that's the one thing I've noticed. We've had a few clients in the past that are heavy into ball joint dolls, and and one of them we didn't have the greatest relationship with. That's my fault. What I thought they wanted and what they actually wanted were two very different things. We had a big communication issue there, but I even sent it to them saying, hey, you should come check this one out, because you need to be buying from this person. They know what they're doing. They wanted to get foldable wings that are actuated by moving certain areas of the doll. So when you would straighten the back, the wings would then unfold.
Yeah, that's some engineering there.
That is some engineering. Now, we got that. We did get that. And we just used some rods, effectively, just like some push rods, if you will.
Yeah.
But that was easy to get the wing to open, but it was a two-piece wing, so it had to double open. And that we did with some elastic band, like the...
which is what the dolls use anyway. It's like...
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Elastic.
And so all of yours are individual pieces that are ball jointed together that are then tied together with that elastic band.
Yeah.
So it's not just print, sand, assemble, done. No. There's a whole other step of stringing the dolls. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Oh man, you're even putting actual knees in there too.
Yeah, they're floating, and the wrists, or not the wrists, but the
elbows. Yeah.
The elbows. And
I need a model like that front back to say, okay, it hurts right about here.
Right here.
Here's the problem.
And this is a bigger one that's built differently. She doesn't have floating peanut joints. They're built into the lower.
Oh, okay. So it's more like a ball and socket joint.
Yeah.
Similar to what is natural.
It's still elastic strong.
Right, so. Right. That keeps, because that was something I was going to ask all about. Like, okay, my understanding is some ball joints are put together literally snap fit, but over time that's going to wear and it's going to get loose. The idea of this, of the string and the elastic is that even as it does wear and get loose, it's under tension, so it's always got that tautness to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
I dig that.
Yeah, it's and the ball and socket dolls are usually based off of they have almost an internal skeleton usually.
Okay.
Not all of them, but a lot of them, they'll have some sort of rigid internal skeleton that the parts plug into, or are physically part of. It's more common in the vinyl dolls. And then there's some of the... Do you know what American Girl dolls are? They're soft body, 18-inch like dolls. They have a soft body and they have plastic. Ada, bring me your Wednesday doll.
Sorry. The benefit of having minions.
Having a child, yes.
Minions. No, they are minions. Whether they're good or evil depends on the day.
There's soft body dolls that have hard plastic limbs. And not all of those, but some of those are held together with string or elastic. So like this, she's going to be Wednesday for Halloween, so we have a headless doll.
Appropriate.
But so this one it's a squishy body.
Okay.
And then it's got hard plastic limbs.
Right.
Now these are just they have like a flange, and then it's either zip tied in or sewn in. But there are ones that have an elastic that run between the two limbs, and then between these limbs.
Okay.
So there's a whole bunch of different ways to build a doll.
Yeah, no matter what, you're going through that.
Yeah, the ball jointed dolls are traditionally, the definition is a doll that has ball style joints. Now they've evolved beyond being a ball at this point, and it's strung with elastic that's under tension, which is how it is able to hold poses and move
Right.
and like that.
Now, you've used SLA and MSLA. So your Moai is a traditional SLA, which is a laser with a galvo. For those that don't know, a galvanometer is just it's a mirror controlled by a servo, and it can move incredibly accurately, incredibly fast, like multiple G's worth of acceleration on these things. And that's how it can scan the layers. You also have your MSLA, which is going to be your Phenom. Any others that are MSLA?
The SL1.
SL1, right? The SL1. Yes. And you haven't used DLP. DLP is getting a resurgence now.
I've used DLP, I just don't own a DLP.
Have you used the old school or the new school DLP?
The old school.
So old school DLP was literally a projector underneath a piece of glass that would just project a light up. These new school DLPs are the projector, but smaller inside of a printer. And it is not like, literally, you had to go out and get a 1080p projector, stick it underneath the printer. No. This is a DLP module inside of a 3D printer. It is not a DLP projector anymore. Anycubic's got their Ultra, I think is what they're calling it. Elegoo is releasing a Mars 3 that is all like that, but at least for us, we're not going to be touching those until this whole Chi2 box bullshit is taken care of.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, well, I won't touch anything that's hard locked at Chi2.
Yeah, Chi2 is not inherently a terrible software, but it is also far from a good software. I think Uncle Jesse put it properly, where they are constantly making updates. Not a single one of them have been beneficial that we can find out.
Yeah.
I did a computer upgrade. An upgrade. I went from an i7 4770K, old school, like 7 years old, 2 weeks ago to a i5 10400. And I still can't work anymore. It still crashes. It still locks my computer. I don't. Or Chi2, sorry. Lychee I use
Chi2,
all the time.
Not Lychee.
Chi2. I love Lychee. I have Lychee open right now. There's one thing about Lychee that I don't like, is that sometimes when you go to close it, it will fail to close and start eating RAM faster than Chrome.
Ooh.
And
I haven't had that happen yet.
So now when I close Lychee, I go into Task Manager and kill it. Because it's happened a couple of times.
Huh. Yeah, I haven't had that happen yet, thankfully. Or at least not that I've noticed.
If you restart your computer often, it's not a problem. But if you're like me and you never turn off your computer, you notice it over time.
Becomes a problem real fast.
It's like, why is everything not working? I look at Task Manager. Oh, I'm using 31.8 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah, I usually have ZBrush open who's eating all the RAM, so...
Oh, cool. Chris.45 says they've got that fixed in the beta 3.5.6.
Oh, awesome.
And that's part of why I like betas, but also part of why I don't use betas. But yes, absolutely Lychee for the win. And apparently the hung processes are a Windows-specific bug. But you use...
I'm Windows.
You use ZBrush, so you're a Windows person.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you did these in ZBrush. So you're doing all the modeling and the printing yourself.
Yes.
All right, which one's worse? Which process of that is worse?
Modeling. Because with the printer, I could just put it in the printer and then walk away.
ZBrush is like, oh yeah, you're doing great. How about we randomly crash on you? Oh, did you forget to save in the past 10 minutes? That sucks.
Yeah. Or the most recent update is if you open anything from prior to 2 updates ago, it just crashes. So I can't open any of my older files till they fix whatever's going on.
Honestly, at some point, I do not condone this in any way, shape, or form, but like, go grab an old copy from the 7 Cs, if you will.
Oh, I have my old revisions, but it's, it's one of those things where it's like, it's like you guys give us this update with all these cool new tools. And because they just added in a feature very similar to what Fusion has with the revision history, where you can edit individual parts without changing everything.
Excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
I might need to relook at ZBrush.
The most recent update has a ton of really cool stuff. They have a new knife feature for cutting it acts like Boolean, but it gives you hard cut lines with no jagged edges. They have a new bevel feature.
That's nice.
Somebody at ZBrush is paying attention to the fact that people in the 3D world are using it now, and they're adding in more 3D printing friendly features.
The last time I used ZBrush, and I'm going to date myself a bit, 4R6. And so that's
about where I started.
Yeah, that's the time I started there too. I looked at it, I worked on it for like 2 hours. I said, I hate this. File is not in the top left. I don't like this program. It's made by masochists.
We're not even on 4 anymore. It's 2021, and then the revision number is what they're dating it as now. But yeah, it's still ZBrush. It still will just randomly decide, I hate you, and
it's like Premiere for video editors, you know?
Yeah.
Every now and then it's like, hey, how about you start all over? That sounds like fun for the both of us.
Right. And that's why I have my autosave set up to save every 5 minutes.
That's it? Man, I had autosave set up to every minute, and sometimes the autosaves would fail. Yeah. Tarsman013, who's also my brother, he's asking, what is the rig that you have? What is your computer rig that you're running ZBrush on?
It is, oh god. We just sort of semi-updated it, so it's got I could tell you what the old settings were. It's not anything overly fancy.
Well, it's the CPU and the GPU, right?
It is to look, because I can't remember.
That's fine. You can find it under Task Manager.
Yeah. Task Manager.
Because like the last time I used ZBrush, I was running the 4770K and a GTX 770.
It's a Ryzen 7 3700.
Nice.
And then the GPU is like 3 gens old.
Okay, like a 10 series or a 12 series.
Yeah, I can't remember. I had an R7. I had the dual RX 7X2, the AMD one that was water cooled.
Yeah.
Too cold.
Yep.
I had that in it, and it finally died, and we ended up sticking one of our spare NVIDIA cards in it, because you can't get video cards anymore.
That's right. We have Fotis Mint in here, another avid masochist. He says, we in ZBrush land don't care about GPUs. Yeah, we don't
care about the GPUs.
Because it's not GPU accelerated yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't always liked the 3D print. Like I said, I started in 2015. Before that, I was actually a Twitch streamer, and I was playing video games, so I had like the best of the best GPU and CPU and everything. But as I've transitioned into it now, I'm like, I just need whatever will make ZBrush not die on me.
It's like, how can we appease the ZBrush gods?
Yeah, what sacrifices have to be made to make ZBrush happy today?
Chris says it was probably a Radeon R295X2.
Yes,
so
that's what it was.
You donated, you offered that as a sacrifice to the ZBrush gods. My brother says, what a monster, only to be used in the winter.
Yeah, that thing put out a lot of heat.
Now, are you using a drawing tablet, a Cintiq?
Yeah, actually, I have...
You have a Cintiq?
No, this is a Huion. I had a Cintiq. I had a Cintiq HDUX1 for years, and they refuse to not use div cables. And none of the new video cards have div.
Yep.
They all have DisplayPort. So it finally got to a point where I literally could not use my
monitors are DVI, and I'm running a DisplayPort to DVI adapter.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. It was like I was having to use adapters and stuff. I used to be a hardcore Wacom fangirl, and I will tell you right now, Huion's better. They're cheaper, and they're better.
So I've got an old Cintiq 24 HD, so old school, right? That back when they were thick, like 3 thick.
They weigh like 110 pounds. Yeah.
The stand for it was 55 pounds. The screen is like another 30.
Yeah.
It doesn't turn on anymore, and Wakeham's like, yeah, it'll be a $600 bench fee. I'm like, you can go to hell with that.
No, by Huion, they have the same pressure sensitivity level as the Wacoms do. They're $400.
Oh
up
yeah,
to
that's not bad at all.
$900. It's 400 up to 900 depending on which size you get.
Right.
They're thinner. They run off of USB-C.
I now have USB-C on my motherboard. I didn't previously.
So they also have USB-C charge ports on the side. So I charge my phone while they're better. Like I said,
USB-C, all the things.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I went to school for computer and video game design, and I majored in character.
Okay.
Building characters, which is kind of why I do the dolls. So I have used Cintiq since forever because that's what our school had. That's what, it was the industry standard at the time. So yeah, I was hardcore Cintiq, and I finally just got so irritated with it. I started looking at other options, and Huion, I bought it when it was on sale. I was like, if it's horrible, I'll return it, while my Cintiq's in the closet and collecting dust.
So I guess I'm a little spoiled in that Ringling is an hour and a half south of me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're in Sarasota, Florida. I'm in Tampa.
Yeah.
It's like an hour. I have toured that campus a couple of times. Once officially as 3D Musketeers, and then a couple of times just as like, I'm going to try to blend in and see how far I can get, just to see until someone stops me.
It's like, you don't belong here.
Their security is pretty damn good, because I definitely didn't belong there. But as touring it as an employer, because I went to see if I could hire people out of there when we were doing a lot more ZBrush work. All Max,
yeah.
All Cintiqs, and it's not. And back then it was the 24 HD was the big one. Every one of them, a trash can Mac. I think they were trash can Macs back then. The Mac Pros, big ass Cintiqs. Some of them had 2 or 3 of them using as monitors. I'm like, okay, so you just put $4,000 worth of monitors when you're only going to use one.
One, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, 16-inch display from Huion's $400.
That's not bad at all.
No, it's not. And like here's the pen.
Boy, that's not a complete and utter ripoff.
And
that's a Wacom pen day and day.
Yeah, where's my donut?
Is the donut
this is the stand, and
the tips are on the inside. Wait. Are those tips, or what is that?
Yeah, there's tips. It's
okay.
The metal. This is the key remover, so you
pull
the tip out, and then the tips are here. They're not standing up straight like the
yeah, I was looking for straight up tips, right?
Yeah.
And just the tips.
But yes, just the tips. But yeah, this is it, and it's light. It's very lightweight.
I see. That's something I wish I had known, because I would have prepared way more. I would have prepared more questions as well on the resin side, also on the design side. We might have to do one.
The Canvas 20 is what I have.
You have the Canvas 20? Okay.
Yeah, Canvas 20 for $430, and I think that's when I bought it on sale when it was first, or maybe I have the Canvas 21. It was whatever one was new for this year.
I mean, that's a killer.
It's still, like I said, yeah, because Cintiqs are like $2,000.
Yeah.
Good.
Who wants a broken Cintiq 24 HD? It doesn't turn on. I'll sell it cheap. Offer me like $300 and it's yours.
Yeah. So
plus
and
shipping,
like I said,
good
it's
Lord.
the exact same pressure sensitivity. They both run 4,008 something sensitivity. As an artist, I notice no difference.
Are you still printing prototypes, or at this point,
yes.
Have you just kind of gotten it to where you're happy?
No, I still, if I do any sort of design change on my dolls, I print prototypes. I have to make sure joints fit, make sure they work mechanically.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing. You can build a joint in ZBrush and it looks like it works till you print it.
What is that design process, or what does that prototyping process look like for you, from the aspect of, all right, I've got an idea, I'm going to design it out. How many prototypes are you normally going through before you're like, all right, I got it, now it's time to sell it?
Maybe 2 or 3. It's not a whole lot, because the thing is like, depending on how many joints the doll has, I'm only printing 1 copy. So like for this doll, I would only print this joint once. I wouldn't need to print a left and right because they're mirrored. So they, I just test the one side, It's the same with the knees, the thighs, because it looks like it's one part, but it's not. It actually, so that it's rotatable.
Right.
But yeah, usually I'm only printing one prototype per joint. And that joint may go through 2 or 3, sometimes 4 revisions. Just depends on how wildly I've changed it or what I'm updating. But usually that's kind of it, and then it gets finalized, and I print my master and put it all together and make sure everything fits. And if for some reason there's one thing that's not right, I'll go back and prototype that part.
Right. Okay.
But it's usually a pretty quick process, especially with how small these things are. They don't.
Yeah, because the prints aren't going to take very long.
No.
Are you doing a lot of print on plate, or are you always printing with supports?
It depends on what it is.
Okay.
Almost all of the doll body is print on supports, but things like eyes, I print on plate. And these, I found while I was looking for nose rings, I found my eyes. So this was what I was talking about. It's a little half dome.
Yeah.
And I just print them directly flat back.
No, there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
Have you played around with flex plates on any of the printers yet?
I haven't. I want to, especially on the Phenom.
Yeah, because how big's that build plate?
It's huge, and it's heavy, and I have weak little girl wrists. that have years of abuse from drawing.
As I say, my girlfriend's wrists are probably stronger than mine, but she's also a nurse that does, chest compressions on the daily. So her wrists are well-oiled machines. Well, probably not well-oiled, but they're machines for sure.
Yeah. No, mine have years of abuse from drawing at a computer, so they're pretty trashed.
That's fair.
But it's, I don't know, it's about that.
I'm gonna look it up real quick because I'm overtly curious.
It's nowhere near as big as the XL or the XXL, which requires handles.
Yeah, I like that they've just adopted the American scheme of sizing. So
yeah.
The build volume, it's 276 by 155, so it's actually only slightly larger than a Saturn.
Yeah.
I love my Saturn.
But it's I mean, I can lift it with one hand. It's, but it's heavy because it's,
Oh, and it's a flat top, isn't it?
No, we have the tilted one.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, so we reviewed a Photon Mono X on the channel, and I don't think I ever officially did a Saturn review. We've got some resin we're going to be reviewing soon from Creality. Creality sent us resin, which was very interesting to me because I have not been all that nice to Creality. I quite regularly shit on them, but they said we were looking for people that are critical of us so that we can have a fair test of this resin. I'm like, okay.
You know what? I'll take that. I'll take that over the ones that want to kiss up to you. If they want critical reviews.
Well, they don't want critical reviews, but they don't want people that are just going to say it's awesome because it's Creality.
Yeah.
Right. And, I can respect that because, like, I even said, hey, I don't own a Creality printer, and I'm not going to buy one for this review. If you want me to use a Creality printer, you're going to have to send me one. They said, no, we know you don't have any of our printers, and we don't want
care.
You to use them. Because if we're showing Creality resin on a Creality printer, that's not really indicative of what the industry is going to use. They are well aware of what's going on. But, it's a new resin. I don't want to talk too much about it, but they're saying it is a safe formula. And what do we say, everybody? Resin is toxic. Is
it epoxy free like the Matter Hacker stuff?
Epoxy doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, but is that what their metric is by its
I don't have an MSDS yet.
Oh.
So I told him, I said, I need to get an MSDS before I want to go ahead and film the video.
Yeah.
Because I want to test it. But, like, other than... My thought was I would get some, like, skin-on pork shoulder.
Oh,
and put some resin on that.
And then go throw it out in the sun?
No, because resin will damage your skin even when it's not curing.
Yeah, no, I know, because I've spilled it on myself and got a rash. But the sun test is fun, especially when you don't know you have resin on your skin.
Yep. Oh, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, why am I burning?
Yeah. That's like why we recommend we use the like the log yellow kitchen gloves you could get from the dollar store. And I
Yeah.
recommend if you're close to a dairy farm that you go get
Oh,
the
getting
shoulder length.
yeah.
The ones
The
for
exam gloves for
for
cows.
cows. Idle Ham says resin is delicious, and for those that don't know, Idle Hams is one of, if not the greatest people in resin supporting. They know all about it.
You have that screen share thing?
Oh yeah, give me just a second. I am ready when you are.
I will show some delicious resin. There we go.
I don't see anything share. Yeah, nothing sharing yet.
Oh, wait. How about now?
There we go. Now we're screen sharing. Oh yeah. God, there's so much mica in there.
That's not mica.
Oh, that's glitter.
That's chunky glitter.
That's chunky glitter. I've always been concerned, like, what if it's standing straight up when the plate comes down? I guess it just bends.
It just bends because it's so thin. I'd say the biggest pieces in there are maybe 1 millimeter.
I showed Amber your Instagram. Amber's my better 3/4. I showed Amber your Instagram, and she's like, "So, when can I buy a resin 3D printer?"
And this is what that printed.
Forbidden milkshakes.
Yes. I have a lot of resin mixing videos where I've made forbidden milkshakes. But this is what that printed. And unfortunately, because resin fogs,
you're wiping it with like alcohol or something to get it clear again.
Yeah.
That is a big bummer for me with resin.
Yeah, that it doesn't stay clear.
And if you can get it clear, it's going to yellow over time anyways.
Yeah.
I've seen that you can polish it out. Some people do coating. Some people are like, yeah, you basically clean it and then you instantly coat it with a UV protective coating. So you're actually not fully curing the resin, but it stays clear that way.
Yeah. So I mean, you can see how shiny these are.
Yeah, those are quite shiny.
And
how are you obtaining that? Or do you not want to talk about that?
No, it's fine because it's the same thing that I use for like the.
Oh, that's got a bad label on it.
Yeah, it does have a bad label on it.
Glass polymer varnish with UVLs.
So it has a UV protectant in it. And it's basically polymerized acrylic gloss, and I spray it through an airbrush, and it coats the resin. This is after I've sanded it.
What are you sanding to? How high grit?
2000.
Okay.
So I start at 600, and then I go to 1500, and then I go to 2000. It's not like I'm not stepping incrementally down.
I'm not starting at 60 grit. Gonna get all that good stuff off of there. What detail? Are you deliberetely over detailing your prints because you know you're gonna sand them?
No, because where I put my supports isn't where any of the detail is.
Smart. So and you're also only sanding where you're having supports.
Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah.
I might like on the 2000, I might do an overall sanding on most areas.
Evens it out too.
Yeah. But because that stuff's so thick, it fills in a lot of any sort of like unevenness you might have on the prints. So, but that's it. And the nice thing about that is it's got a UV protectant in it, and it's high gloss. So it's almost like a candy coating finish on the resin.
That's kind of what you're going for, right? You want that candy shell.
Yeah.
Because over time, of course, resin parts will get quite brittle if you don't protect them. And now I'm curious, what is that danger label on it for? Is it just inhalation danger?
And it's flammable.
Oh well, I mean, all fun things are flammable. We know
that. It's the same. You're running in the mill acrylic you know, if you're going to spray, if you're going to atomize it in any way, wear respiratory protection and have proper ventilation.
Or do it outside minimally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's nothing it's nothing too crazy. It's not caustic or anything like that. You know, nothing really fun.
And because you have experience in both this FDM and resin, what are some of the big benefits of resin over FDM to you?
The not having to sand for hours and hours, not having to fill in stuff with Bondo. It's well, and then because I'm dealing with, a lot of times I'm dealing with such small object, there's no way I can print some of the stuff I print on an FDM.
That's fair. We saw Geeky Faye just did some videos where they were using a
0.15.
0.1.
Oh, 0.1, yeah.
Masochism at its finest, as far as I'm concerned.
We've gone
friggin' 1.
We've gone down as small as a 0.15 nozzle on our
Dust
Mark
will clog a nozzle
3.
at that point.
It did, yeah, it does, and that's why we don't use it, because it's just too much of a hassle.
Yeah. But it's pretty darn cool to see it.
It is. It's like, cool.
Even I was one of those people, like, when Faye said that, I messaged them and said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you're..." They're like, "Oh yeah, I've actually already had it done. I just started the marketing after I already knew I could do it." I'm like, "Oh, see, you're smart." I'm the kind of guy that says, "F it, we're gonna do it live." Yeah. That's why there are some, like, that's why, one, we don't do live streams anymore for design, because I'm not that great, and Googling something on a live stream is just not kosher. But, you know, it is still a massive benefit to me. And with programs like Lychee, because what we used to do is we used to use Prusa Slicer to do the supports and hollowing. We would then export the STL with supports, put it in a Chi2 box, slice it there, then put it into Photon File Validator to make sure everything is clean. Then I could print it. And holy shit, that is so much extra work.
That's too many steps.
And not to mention all the extra steps that are involved with dealing with resin, right? My huge thing over FDM is, like, you literally just rip the supports off, you throw it in a bag, and you send it in the mail. You're done.
Yeah.
But with resin...
Well, see, our FDM's actually even more involved than that, because we build custom supports. We don't do slicer generated.
Even with Prusa's snug supports? Really?
Yeah. We custom build all our supports onto the model and print it that way.
Why?
For minimal contact. As much minimal contact on the surface as possible.
I have. And have you played with Prusa Slicer 2.4, the alphas? Mm-hmm.
We will use machine the slicer generated supports on some things, but for some, I thought I maybe had one, but I don't. For sometimes when I get a client that wants a doll printed and they just want it printed cheap, we will do it in FDM. So we're still dealing with detailed faces and hands and stuff. There's no way I can have a slicing program not.
Are you designing in the supports when you're doing the ZBrush work, or?
No. So for stuff like this, when clients send us stuff and they want it printed in FDM, we go and we build the supports in Fusion on the model.
Okay.
And we basically we bring in the model, we build the separate supports, and then we export the supports in the model into Prusa Slicer, and we have them printed as one object.
Mm-hmm.
So. But
I like it. I mean, I haven't gone down that path yet, because generally for us, like, the straight up built supports are more than adequate. But in some cases, yeah, I can definitely see.
Yeah, it's not for everything that we do that, but for stuff that's really detailed, where
for resin, I'm always doing custom.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I will let Lychee sometimes do it, at least to get, like, the bulk of it. But then I will go through, and I learned this on the rings, that I really do need to do that. And I got a lot better detail. But I find that Lychee puts way more supports than it really should.
Than it needs.
Yeah. But, you know, and I hear people complain about this. I say, you know what? I recognize the little bit of extra time to clean it up. But do you really want to print it twice?
No.
Yeah. And they're like, well, what about the extra expense? I said, if you're If your margins are that tight, you're in the wrong business.
Pennies. The supports cost pennies.
They cost pennies. Yeah.
That's not where all your cost is going.
No, yeah, your cost is in the time, right?
Yeah. But yeah, for things like, so it looks like, it's not a solid head. It's two pieces.
Oh.
And the tolerances are extremely tight so that it stays together. So for things like this, where we want the outside to look as finished as possible. Now this is resin, so
all the supports are on the inside of the head. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but if we were to print that in FDM, we would want to build custom supports in so that the outside stayed as unmarred as possible, but those interiors were still as pristine as possible so that they could press fit together without any issue. So we have to go in and build. That's where the custom support building comes in, is stuff like that. Otherwise, yeah, we would just use the slicer built supports.
I love that. I mean, that's your attention to detail is, at least that I've met in the industry, quite second to none. I mean, Idlehams, I don't know if he's still hanging out, but he's very similar in that, I am going to build supports for what is most effective, but also deal with surface finish.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing, so in this test of the resin, I'm working with Fotis to find out some really interesting models that are like difficult to support, that are going to really test resin, but are also quite pretty, so I'm not just printing crap to throw it away.
I should throw you my dragon head.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass to print resin.
Don't make it too hard on me. This resin, this type of resin is statistically difficult to print. They are claiming it to be a water washable resin, and I don't like water washable resins, and Idlehams can speak to this heavily, as can I. Water washable resins tend to have internal stress that comes out in like months when the layers start to split and delaminate. If it doesn't happen during the print from overexposure.
I actually have a 3D printed doll from another maker right now that I am repairing. And I don't know what resin it was printed with, but I suspect the damage that I'm seeing is because it was a water washable, because I'm getting those split fissures on parts of the doll. So yeah, I'm not a fan of water washable. I'm also not a fan of water washable because people go and wash it in their sinks.
Yes, literally my problem. Is that, water washable, I can wash it in my sink. No, resin is toxic. It is, it hurts me every time I see people do it, and enough people believe that this is okay. And the manufacturers, while they do put some warnings up, they are not, like, I would trust Psoriatech to put, like, in big red letters, do not wash this in your sink, but nobody else. I'm looking at the resin I have from Creality, and it does not say anywhere on there that you should not wash it in your sink.
Yeah, and it needs to be said, because I've seen videos of people, and I'm like, no,
you're poisoning your waterways.
Stop.
And for like people like me, I live out in the boonies. I have a septic system and a well. Okay.
Yeah.
They are not all that far away from each other. Now, the well is multiple hundreds of feet further in the ground, right? The septic is maybe 6 feet below the surface. The well is like 400 feet below the surface. But that shit leaches. And it can get into aquifers and rivers, and you don't want to deal with that. And yeah, the whole EPA fines for poisoning waterways is like $250,000 per incident.
Yeah.
And I don't know is not an option.
Yeah. I didn't know better. No.
Now, did you always start out with Psoriatech, or did you mess with other resins before finding Psoriatech?
Well, because our first machines were the Moai, we actually started out with the Peopoly or Peopoly, depending on how you say it. We started out with their resins. And then when they branched off and became the Soraya, we switched over to them. And I use Soraya in my Moais. I don't even use Peopoly stuff anymore. Even though It's technically not supposed to be for the it's not supposed to be SLA resin. It's supposed to be MSLA. So, but I've made it work.
Something you said that I didn't know is Psoriatech a branch off of Peopoly?
I don't know if they're like subsidiaries or something, but it's one of their chemists, I think, started it.
Okay, so there's some sort of relation there. Good or
yeah,
bad, there is a relation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure if it's like if they're a subsidiary or anything, but I know that there was at the beginning there was some crossover between the two. So, but yeah, I pretty much, that's with the exception of a few of the Prusa resins that I have in house, and I have a couple bags of Matter Hacker stuff.
I started with Elegoo.
Pretty much just use the Soraya now.
I started with Elegoo simply because it was, like you said, it was the brand that you bought of the printer.
Yeah.
Then Psoriatech was doing a deal. It was a BOGO deal years ago. So I said, oh, what the hell? And I tried their gray. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I tried the Sculpt, and then Fast Gray came out, and I'll never go back. Like, it's just, It is the perfect neutral gray.
Sculpt is actually what their first resin that I started with, their clear, the Sculpt clear, because it's so similar to the Peopoly Next resin in terms of viscosity. And with the glitter prints, you want thicker resin, and thicker resin is usually not something you find with the MSLA resins.
Yeah, they're normally quite thin.
Yeah. So I needed something that was similar to the viscosity of the Peopoly Next resin, and Sculpt is, they're damn near identical.
When we transitioned from Sculpt to Fast, I'm like, I'm just gonna start mixing them.
Yeah.
And the colors do not mix. So it made for some really interesting looking...
marbling.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I've had some weird fails, and I want to talk about some of the fails you've had, too. We have had a build plate where, on the Mars, because it's a ball joint, hilariously, ball and socket, with some grub screws, where the grub screws stopped working. And so as it printed, the build plate was twisting. The fails are really cool. Like,
yeah, that's gotta be, that's like
not in here. I will DM you a picture of them.
It's like using the shear function in Photoshop, but in a print.
Yeah, I mean, it is a perfect print, but it just like...
it's just twisted.
It's twisted.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It is, that was a tough one to figure out. I'm like, the build plate seems fine. It was the fact that the model had so much more peel force on one side than the other. You couldn't easily move it by hand. But as it got away, it would just start, oh, that's a little bit of peel, and it would just shift ever so slightly every few...
Wow.
This was over a year ago that it happened, but I had one Mars printer come that looked like it was in a WWE wrestling match before it got to me. And Elegoo's like, I said, what can we do about it? They're like, oh, we'll just send you another one. Like, what about this one? Keep it for parts. I'm like, sweet.
Okay.
And I had a spare build plate. So it was as easy as getting rid of that spare build plate, or that bad build plate, putting the new one on, leveling it, and I ran the same print and it was perfectly fine.
Fine, yeah.
But I changed FEP. I went to a new VAT. I'm like, what is going on?
I've done that with so many of our... It's like the Moai, we just recently switched our laser out in our oldest one, which is going on 4 years now. But when it started to fail, we couldn't really pin down what the failure was. We were having prints not print, and it was intermittent. You know, sometimes prints would print fine, sometimes they weren't. So we changed the FEP. We changed the build plate. We re-leveled. Yep. We went through, we disassembled it, cleaned it, put it back together. So we eventually, it was just like, okay, the only thing that we haven't checked is the laser. Maybe the laser's failing. We just had them send us a new laser, put the laser in, and suddenly it prints fine.
Yep.
So, but yeah, you go through the whole checklist of what on this is causing this to fail. And then sometimes prints just fail. Like,
yep. Sometimes
the
they
weather's
fail
wrong.
just because.
Yeah, the weather's wrong. It's too, the stars haven't aligned.
The temperature matters so much.
Yeah.
Especially for like Psoriatech Tough.
Yes.
Their Tough resin, their
yeah.
Tough Blue. If it is not hot,
yeah.
does not print.
Yeah, it likes the summer. I won't print it if it's not, even though we have a heated room and everything, I won't print it unless it's the summer, because it's...
I saw Peopoly released a heated vat now too.
Yeah, the vat itself is heated. Yeah.
When we print Tough, and this is like such the Jangus way to do it, I will preheat the vat with a blowtorch.
Yeah. I do a heat gun.
Okay, I'm not the only one that does it. I'm like, this is so freaking jank.
I don't do the vat. I don't do the vat often, but what I'll do the vat sometimes if it's really cold outside, but I will heat the build plate with the heat gun. And it keeps enough, because it's that thick piece of aluminum. It keeps the heat long enough to kind of heat up the resin.
Right.
And it's... Yeah, temperamental resins, which is why I stick to fast and simple for the most part, because they don't really care.
Yeah, they don't. They're like, oh, it's freezing? We don't give a shit. Oh,
Yeah.
It's 200 degrees? We're fine.
Siberian winter, surface of the sun, it just works.
Chris.45 says, just get a brewer's belt. I don't know what that is, but that's something I'm going to be looking up. I assume it's a small, thin heater.
Yeah, that wraps around the
I think it wraps itself.
Yeah,
but
for
like,
the...
I figure if you could just heat your build chamber, because like unlike heating an FDM build chamber, you need like what 35 C, and Tough is generally happy.
Yeah, it's not, you don't have to. And Moai actually had little heaters that you would stick in the thing, so they exist. And I've seen people that have done like little desktop USB heaters and put them in there. That's
what we've done. We did a USB heater, and then we did one that used when we had these machines connected via Ethernet, worked off of the same voltage as PoE, power over Ethernet, so we could just run it off the Ethernet port on the printer.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to run... Because, like, I've got a shelf with 2, 4, 6... I got a shelf with 11 resin printers on it.
Yeah.
Do you know how many damn plugs that is?
That's 11. A lot.
It's 11 plugs.
You're keeping up with the math.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it's like the other frustration that I have with some of these cheaper resin printers. I want to have shelves. Like, you see, I have Prusas on shelves. I want to have resin printers on shelves. And no, they can only go on the top shelf because you got to lift the whole dang top off. Right? And for Amber, she's like 5'2". She can't reach all that.
5'3". I'm 5'3", so I know the struggle.
She's like, she has to grab it and then kind of yeet it off the top and hope she can catch it before it hits the ground. But
that's like, I'm trying to figure out where to put, if we get a Saturn, I'm trying to figure out where to put it because we've run out of space, and somebody suggested, they're like, oh, just put it on top of your Moai. Well, to give you an idea, the door for my Moai is here when I'm standing in front of it. If I put anything on top of the Moai, it's going to be 2 feet above my head. And
let's be real, we want to see the print, man. I want to. Yeah. It's especially like when I was doing the casting resin. The lift was never all that high. It was like 7 or 8 millimeters. But
yes, you're like, is it actually printing?
Yeah, it's like, is it working? Is it working? And then it finishes. I'm like, damn it, one printed.
That's one thing that I wish the MSLA printers had that the Moai has, is a clear vat, so I can actually see if anything's happening before we're like, an hour into the print.
I think we've talked about that before, where a clear vat would be really, really cool. And I'm sure it's, like we have plastic vats. They're okay. I'm more of a fan of the metal vats because I just want something with... I don't want the vat itself to flex.
Yeah.
So I go with the bigger vats. And we also have a bunch of new people in here, so I just want to give a shout out to some of the new people. Jordan and Bob are back from their tool changing endeavors, and I know that they raided the channel with some people, so I appreciate you guys coming over and hanging out. Don't forget to leave a like. while you're at it. And check out Synthetic Ephemera on all of the social medias. Links to her will be in the description down below. But I agree with Chris.45. I'll stick with my aluminum vat. It is... I can't get behind it. Like, the aluminum vats are only like $2 or $3 more than the plastic ones. Why do I want plastic vats?
What about putting a window in it? Like an acrylic window? Like, have it be aluminum, but have like a machined window in the front with an acrylic.
I'd be worried about it leaking.
Well, I mean, you still have the fat for it to leak through, too.
I mean, yeah. See, if it's a clear vat, you're going to have something for that gasket thing to screw into. That can hold like 30 pounds of force, because you're really wrenching on those sometimes. It's cool. I think it's one of those where it's a really cool idea in theory, but it is very technically complicated in terms of the process.
Yeah, it's just one of the things I miss from going from SLA, because all those vats are clear. They're all either glass or acrylic. So,
Bob says that they knew you before they knew me.
I know Bob.
Which is fair.
I know Bob.
Everybody knows Bob. Bob is great. # Bob was robbed. Unrelated to this one, but some people will get that joke. Yes, I am relatively new to the social media printing community. I've been printing for 13 years now, but I'm relatively new to particularly Matt's people. Because Matt's people, that's how I met you. That's how I met Bob and Jordan. Fotis I met through Patreon because I'm a patron of his, and Idle Hams is one of his support guys. So I am new to the social media because I, like a lot of makers, it seems, are just social media and me don't get along. I was raised with this whole don't talk about the things you do. If it's good enough, somebody else will talk about it for you. Don't toot your own horn. And that is not the way to do it in this industry. Learn that. And that's part of the reason why I've been a little bit more vocal lately, is I keep seeing people say it can't be done. In fact, in the last week, I've seen probably 6 different people say that glitter printing and mica printing can't be done. You're like,
and I'm like,
hi.
But I've been doing it since 2015, so either I'm a wizard or yes, it can be done.
This is why I wish we were local, because I would love to do a video where you show this off, because I certainly, under no circumstances, trust myself. Even if you gave me all the secret sauce on how to do it, I do not trust myself that I could do it without creating a massive mess on my set.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it is glitter, so it's going to get everywhere regardless.
Yeah, that's fair. We do have we do have a no glitter policy in this shop, but honestly, when somebody asks for glitter, I have done glitter once. We cut glitter acrylic on the laser. That was terrible.
Still goes everywhere.
The glitter's in the acrylic. Like it's a cast piece of acrylic with the glitter in there. The problem is glitter is reflective and lasers reflect.
Yeah. And that's the thing I get asked a lot with the SLA, the Moais, is, well, you can't because the glitter is going to reflect off the laser. I haven't had any issues.
Do you ever notice like errant lines from the reflections, or no?
Nope.
I wonder if because the laser is so weak,
small or weak. Yeah, I don't.
On an 80-watt laser. Just like I've got dots in the acrylic top panel for it from where the laser reflected and smashed into the acrylic top panel out of focus. Thankfully, I
don't know. That was one of the things that I kind of thought would happen when I first started, just dumping things into my vat.
Right.
But I've never on the Moais, I've never seen any indication that the laser has been reflected or refracted off these glitter pieces. So I don't know why it works.
So what you're saying is anyone that wants to try it, freaking do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. And, Synthetic Ephemera has faith in you. Maybe not.
I wouldn't say that it's easy to do, because
everybody would be doing it.
Yeah, there's some technique to getting them to happen. Um, but it's not so like involved of a process, and like, you know, you have to have things precise and all this for it to work. It will, like I said, the very first ones I did was literally me just like, I had some spare chameleon flakes and some mica powder and some unicorn flake stuff that I literally just dumped, to my husband's horror, into our Moai vat. Just straight into the vat. I didn't even pre-mix it. I do pre-mixing now in a jar. I don't dump it straight into the vat. My very first one, I was just
I'm imagining like 1 liter mason jars up on a wall somewhere with
they're actually
like, bubble toil and trouble.
they're actually little pint Tupperware
Okay.
containers, and I have probably 40 of them with
and
various...
they're polypropylene, so you can cure it and it peels right off.
Yeah, and it's so I have all the different like colors and mixes that I've made with different shades of and different levels of contamination in them. And yeah, it very much like, it looks like a mad scientist laboratory with all the different goops and
yeah, I've never played. I want to, because like I've got a bunch of clear resin that's going to go bad eventually, and I think I might just start playing with it. I don't know.
Do it. Do it.
But see, I'm gonna be the guy that's like, all right, let's open the package.
Pooh, everywhere. Yeah.
How many times has that happened when you're like, all right, let's open the package, and the whole thing opens and mica goes everywhere?
Not with the the glitter, and the mica I use is actually in jars.
Okay. Using like little tiny
jars. But what will happen is I will go to pour some out, and the entire glob of mica pops out of the jar. I'm like, well, okay, I guess this is going to be all this color for the next year. Yeah, it's the shelf that I do a lot of my mixing on is probably 90% mica and glitter at this point, and not so much a shelf anymore.
Can you go through some of that process of the mixing, the cleanup, and like particularly how you protect your work surfaces? Because again, resin is toxic, and it tends to find its way effectively everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. Like one of the things my husband says to people that want to get into resin printing is, if you can walk around your house with an open container of oil around your neck and not have it spill anywhere for a week, then you can go resin print.
That's really not a bad way to look at it. It is,
yeah, because it's going to get everywhere, and people don't understand how just it gets everywhere.
We use wood. Our shelves are, they're like the metal industrial shelves, and an 1/8-inch thick piece of hardy board fits perfectly
on top of them.
Right on top of it, and I could protect the hardy board, but the entire 4x8 sheet is like $15.
Yeah, and just so get a new one when it gets too gross.
When it gets, and I have a big 40-watt cob curing station, and I have a high-powered UV laser that can burn the wood. So that means I know I'm getting UV deep. That way we don't saturate the wood with UV. Are you using, because I know back in the day we used to use cookie sheets. What are you using to protect your work surfaces?
I use. So for where the Moais are, it's a piece of particle board, and it's just particle board, so we don't care.
Yep.
But where my SL1 is, it's on a metal shelving system from IKEA, where you throw the rails up and then they like snap into it.
Yeah.
I have big Silplat, the silicone baking sheets.
Yep.
I have one of the industrial size ones down, and it sits on top of that, and then that's pretty much where I do all my mixing, because it's a big enough space with the SL1 on it. So, and then that's the thing with that is, if I spill anything on that Silplat, I just cure it, and then it peels right off.
Exactly, and then it's reasonably safe to get rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what I was doing for a while before I had that shelf is I had a big cookie tray that had a Silplat in it, and I would do everything in that. My tools stayed in that, and it keeps it all contained because you've got the lip of the cookie tray. And
yeah, the scraper has always been the one for me. I'm like, oh, this scraper is nasty.
Yeah, I go through, depending on our work volume, I usually go through and like deep clean my tools once a month, throw them in a like a plastic bin with a bunch of isopropyl alcohol. I throw all my scrapers in, I throw my mixing, because I have silicone coated popsicle sticks. So they look like popsicle sticks, but they're silicone, and that's what I do my mixing with.
Damn it, that's brilliant. I shake the bottles. Mixing with the...
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, I mean, for my mix-ins I shake the bottles to get their pigment if they have any in it. But when I'm doing like my mica and my dye and stuff, I use the silicone stir stick. But yeah, depending on our workload and how much printing's been done, usually about once a month I go and throw all of my tools, my scrapers, my mixing stuff into an isopropyl alcohol bath and clean everything off, so they're all...
Are you an isopropyl gal, or are you using other cleaning?
No, isopropyl,
okay.
Which, yeah, really, really hurt at the height of the pandemic because you couldn't find anywhere.
We've been green for a while.
That's what I did. I tried that, and it always... I could never get it to not be sticky.
On any resin doped with tough, if you're doping with tough resin, it will never not be sticky. Not be sticky. You gotta use alcohol when you're messing with tough resin.
But that's all we use, and it's hilarious when I go to the store and I buy like 30 bottles, and they look at me like I'm a lunatic because I'm buying 30 bottles of isopropyl alcohol.
Can you DM me a link to the popsicle sticks, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I have an Amazon wish list that has all the tools that I use because I get asked so frequently.
Where is that?
Let me grab it.
Did you DM that to me?
No, I don't think I did. Let me grab it real quick.
Because we got Alexandre asking, and I happen to know that they are involved with lychee slicers, so I think that'd be kind of cool to...
Yeah, it's basically the resin.
Because I need to get some of those.
Not the resin, but the dye that I use.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it's primarily for I set it up for the doll community because more and more people in the doll community are starting to pick up 3D printing,
right.
And none of them really know about resin printing, and it was an easy way for me to be like, these are the tools you need to do it safely. Please at least get some of this. Don't be stupid.
I'm getting that Amazon store page set up, so I'm like, all right, these are the bare minimum. This is like, I'm going to take this seriously, and this is, I am afraid of this, and I want I want goggles, face shield, bunny suit level of protection. But yeah, I want to get some of those stir sticks because, especially in the vats, because I don't empty my vats. I'm weird. All of my printers have resin in them. I never empty the vats. I'm going to check Amazon real quick, too.
I just dropped the link in the chat, and
it won't work.
It won't work?
YouTube doesn't let links on live streams for obvious reasons.
Let me DM it here. Here's the DM then. That's to the whole list. The sticks specifically are...
Because I can do it. Because then people are going to be putting in some weird stuff.
Those are the sticks specifically. It's a stick and then a silicone little spatula scraper too, which I also use to get stuff out of the corners.
Yep. Fastest delivery tomorrow. Buying one of these as soon as we're done.
And it's like $7 for 3 sticks and 2 of the spatulas. It's cheap.
Yeah, and they're going to last for a while.
Yeah,
they're not going anywhere.
But like that whole list. I mean, I've got the basics on it: gloves, snips, the Hako snips, these guys that I use all the time. A toothbrush, really nice to have to get into those hard places when you're cleaning stuff off.
Don't use it in your mouth because resin is toxic.
Buy a toothbrush specifically for it. Right, like do not use it for teeth cleaning on it or something.
The better 3/4 just messaged me saying she has mica powder for me to use. That means she's watching. Hopefully she hasn't seen the link.
I even have silicone collapsible funnels on there because again, you can just UV cure it and peel the resin off and no problem.
I used to try to like filter out resin from the alcohol because I use a pickling jar for the alcohol because it's got a little basket in there, so it's like perfect. Yeah. Some people use ultrasonics for alcohol. Don't do that.
Yeah, because they heat and then
they can catch fire.
Yeah, it's not.
And your entire liquid is flammable.
Yeah.
What do you use for your washing curing?
I have a big stock pot that I got from Walmart for like $5 that I do all my washing in.
You're not using like a washing cure station.
No.
Oh, because your stuff is too delicate.
Well, no, not just that. I started before washing cure stations existed, and I just never really evolved past it.
Uh-oh. I just got told that she has seen the list.
Oh.
Can I get some well wishes from the chat, please? Good. Maybe Amber will want to come into more videos. But okay.
But yeah, I just have a big metal stainless steel stock pot that I do my washing in. Even for small parts, like I should probably use something smaller, especially for like my really, really tiny stuff. But usually when I'm doing like the nose rings or the heels, I print it on. They're in groups.
Oh, okay. So they're much larger at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I just wash the whole thing and then I cut them off the supports and stuff afterwards. But yeah, it's a big quart stock pot that I have isopropyl alcohol in, and I wash everything in that, and then I just I have the Peopoly UV Cannon light that's like it's like a little brick.
It's a
light.
Little 10-watt LED cob light. I mean, there's nothing to it.
And that's what I use for my curing.
Okay.
Or I have for the really small stuff, I have.
Yes, me too. Can you see it? Oh no, it's out of frame. Is yours LED or is yours?
It's both. It's LED and it's got LEDs on the sides and in the back.
Yep.
And then it's got one of the bulbs here. It's a nail. It's one that's
nail curing. Yep.
Yeah.
I got mine at a local Goodwill for $3, and it is all cold cathode UV bulbs.
Oh wow.
Like, and it is, so like LED, UV, it does not hurt your eyes anywhere near to the way that UV cold cathode bulbs do.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to mess around, if you have photochromic sunglasses that dim or that darken.
These are. Yep. It triggers it. It triggers it all the time.
Uh-huh. The UV cold cathode triggers it instantly, but the UV takes a little bit of time to trigger.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. I don't have anything fancy because, like I said, I started in 2015. There weren't wash and cure stations. Nobody had wash and cure stations. I know. I don't have anywhere to put it.
And see, the wash. So you can see one of mine back there. That one is dead. That is an Anycubic wash and cure, the regular one. The board is dead. It does not accept inputs anymore.
Oh, wow.
And that's my third board. Anycubic has just said, yeah, we're kind of done supporting this. So I'm gonna plug it into an Arduino and just because it's a stepper motor and a UV light source. That's it. And some programming to spin it in one way, then spin it in the other.
And probably a timer to turn the light on and off on the wash cycles.
Yep. And then the stepper motor is fast and it's magnetically coupled to a stir bar. And then it's slow because you can put a little spinning plate on it. But we recently got the Anycubic Wash and Cure Plus, the big chungus, that holds 8 liters.
Jesus.
Yeah. 8 liters. But if you're getting a Saturn, that's the size you need.
Is that? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, I wash my Peopoly stuff, or my Phenom stuff in this pot, so...
How often are you changing out your alcohol?
When it gets cloudy, goopy, when there's a layer of junk on the but when I'm going in and I'm washing something and after 15 minutes of me sitting there and doing this, it's still sticky and I'm like, okay, maybe the saturation is too high and I should change this. I put a lot of love and detail and thought into making the prints. My aftercare is ancient. But
you know what? Look, if it works,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of reason to sometimes fix it. I I use mean green, like that bucket's literally got mean green in it, and over time in mean green, the resin settles out.
Yeah, it does in the ISO the ISO too.
Okay.
I get this like film on the bottom of
I use a turkey
the
baster to get that
container.
out sometimes because those are the flakes that end up getting stuck on the parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, we use a small pickling jar. Who was it that said it? William Patton said if you want to use a ultrasonic, fill it with normal water cleaning solution, and then put in either bags or jars with alcohol into it, because
because then it'll vibrate it in. Yeah.
And you know what? That's brilliant.
A really good idea. Yeah,
that's. Because I've got a 4-liter UV, or a 4-liter ultrasonic and a 1-liter ultrasonic that I leave water in.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the water to get off the alcohol, because if you try to cure a part with alcohol on it,
you get that bloom.
You get the bloom, and there is really no way to fix it.
Yeah, that's it.
Basically,
it's
unless you're sanding it, it doesn't come off. Now we have found that if you coat the part, the bloom will generally go away.
It does. It goes away. Yeah. I have some where I had some parts that I knew were going to be coated, and they ended up with bloom on them, and I wasn't worried about it.
Like, I'm coating them, I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So, any tips for beginners, right? People that are just starting out, what are some like tips and tricks that you can give them to kind of get rolling here as quickly as possible?
For resin printing in general or the additives?
Let's do both. Let's start with resin printing in general.
Make sure you have enough space for...
That's a big one.
Yeah, all of it. Your cleaning station, your curing station, the printer, your resins.
Right.
Just, yeah, especially if you're coming from FDM, you're like, oh, the FDM is pretty much self-contained. You've got to have like 3 separate workspaces for resin, or one really big one that you can set all of the stuff you need on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then clean more than you think you need to.
That's true. You can't you can't fix it if you end up with cured resin on your part that should have been washed off. You can't fix that.
Just clean and clean and clean. Like I know that's the worst part of resin printing is the cleaning afterwards, but if you get your part clean before you cure, like properly cleaned before you cure, it's going to save you a lot of heartache down the line.
And then for Mica, or is the Mica and Mixins just Shia LaBeouf just do it?
Yeah, it is a just do it, but find the thickest resin that you possibly can get that will work on your machine, and I'd start from there, because the thin stuff you're just going to get settling and you're going to get irritated because all of the pretty shiny stuff is on the support layer and nothing else.
Well, that is the benefit of having like a Formlabs Form 2, Form 3, or an SL1S, where they've got wipers, they're doing the little vat tilt that always and forever will freak me out.
Even then with the tilting, because the Moai has tilt as well, because it's built off the Form,
it's a Form
architecture. Yeah. You still need thick resin, because the Mica, it does just eventually settle out.
Are there any resins you can recommend for that?
The Psoriatech Sculpt Clear, Blue Clear. Those are both incredibly thick, and they work on most MSLA machines.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything that they haven't worked on. You can get away with simple if you're using ultra fine particle stuff. And you mix the ever living hell out of it, and you have a machine that tilts. I've seen a couple people use simple with some additives in it on non-tilting machines, and it does work. But again, you've gotta really, really, I mean, like,
get it thick. It's not fully back yet. There we go.
The thicker the better for for additive, particle additive printing. Now, liquid dye is a whole nother thing. You can pretty much add liquid dye to any resin.
But oil-based, you were saying.
The ones that I found that work the best, that don't have the issues that the alcohol inks do, is the oil-based ones. And what you'll look for, and it's on that Amazon list, is it'll say non-toxic, whereas the alcohol inks don't say that. And it's a pigment. It'll say pigment instead of dye.
Yep, epoxy resin pigment without alcohol.
Pigment.
I see it.
Yeah. Whereas the epoxy resin, the epoxy dyes, it says epoxy resin dye, and it's usually alcohol based. Now, that alcohol based will work in the resin. I've used it, but you have to use very, very little of it, or your parts start going spongy, because the alcohol, we use it to clean it for a reason. It does eat away at the resin.
And Alexandre had a couple of points that I wanted to bring up, see if you've tried these. They are using a spray bottle with IPA initially to get most of the resin off, and then they're putting it in a bath. And I think that's pretty cool, because that'll keep your main IPA bath clean.
That's actually what Psoriatech suggests for a lot of theirs, is to spray and use
must
like
wear
a painter.
Respirator.
Yeah, you have. If you're atomizing alcohol, use a respirator.
Yeah, don't be an idiot for that one. That one can and very quickly cause lung problems.
Yeah.
And they also asked, what is the max percentage of mica powder that you can mix in with resin? And I don't know if you've ever found that out. Because I'm sure it's quite a bit.
I've put a lot of mica powder in resin. Less is more, in all honesty, because most micas are pretty potent pigment wise. Because mica is not just sparkle; it's also pigment. So, I'm working in small batches, so I'm using these. My mica thing came with this little like spoon that's tiny, and I'm using 2 or 3 of those, which might be a gram at most. I mean, it's not much.
A little dab will do you.
Yeah, I'm sure there is an oversaturation point where you can put too much mica in and your part is more mica than resin, but you'd have to use a lot of mica. Like, you'd probably have to use an entire container worth.
If I can get a resin sponsor, I will find this out. Right? I've only got 2 liters of the stuff to test with, and I'm not going to start dumping mica into it. But like, if I can, grab like a Psoriatech sponsor, or maybe if the Atlas 3D guys want to kick me like a 5-gallon bin of their resin, just to like, all right, let's really find. I guess you really don't need all that much. You just slowly keep adding mica to your vat until it starts to fail. Until
it gets to a consistency where it's just not. Because eventually you're gonna get this. You're gonna almost get the like non-Newtonian fluid effect with cornstarch and water, where it's like it becomes so hard and goopy when it's impacted. I have, like I said, I haven't gotten that there, because I usually, by the time I've added what a normal person would probably consider too much, I'm usually, it's because I'm adding it for a reason. But like this doll, this blue is, the resin was clear to start with, and this is all mica powder. There's no dye in this doll.
Wow.
But I added a lot of mica powder. There's like 5 different colors in this doll, and she still printed fine. So, and I'm just the batches that I mix are just enough to fill up the vat of the SL1. I don't, I'm not.
You're not mixing a ton at a time.
Yeah, I'm not mixing an entire 1 kilo bottle. I'm mixing,
I think there's a business model in there for someone, and maybe it'll be me, but I'm gonna give it away. Because if you can beat me to market, what the hell? I didn't try hard enough.
Premix?
No. A pump system to mix the resin as it's printing.
I have looked at that. My husband has looked at it. using some sort of like almost dialysis, like where it's doing
Peristaltic
a
pumps.
constant,
Yep.
yeah. It's just a matter of getting it set up to where it's not going to interfere with the print, because at least on the SL1 there's not a whole lot of
Well, the SL1
play
it's
area.
got the tip, so you're fine. But on something like a
Yeah,
Saturn or a Mars, you've got a good 1/4 inch or 6 mil all the way around. That's plenty
around.
for some 2 or 3. Because I doubt that you need a lot of agitation.
No, you just need enough to ensure that at least on lift. And that's the other thing too. The lift does cause some agitation. You're getting that cavitation effect where it
Right.
pulls it in underneath it. But it's, yeah, you want some sort of um back and forth movement along with your upward movement to get all of it mixed in. So yeah, if you could
Yep.
get something that would push resin in one direction while it was
I figure you pull it out of one side of that, put it back into the other, and that high side and low side should force the resin to effectively rotate. And if you're able to do
yeah.
it, if you could time it with the print so that when it was exposing, it was off.
Yeah, and then
And
on lift, or as it started to lift, it would start the process.
and it would
Yeah.
pump fast because peristaltic pumps can move pretty quickly. It's a thought of mine. It's something that I think
Yeah.
would be
No, it's something that my husband and I have looked at a couple of times and tried to figure out exactly how to go about it. But yeah, with our current machines, the ones that we use glitter in anyway, they both have tilts, so
it's not a big deal.
it's never been something that we've really pushed in terms of developing because we just haven't needed it. But if I end up getting a Saturn, I might make him revisit it.
Bill Todd says rock the whole printer.
Just
I don't even
shake it.
want to talk about the potential of. Oh, the machine was set to 15 degrees, but I accidentally set it to 51. Boom, 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 boom. Hucking resin all over the place. If you move the whole printer, you would have to print it without a lid.
Yeah.
On these cheaper machines, right? God, that would be. I'm like a paint shaker, but for your whole damn printer, it would probably still print just fine.
I have on that the resin that I showed earlier that had all the big chunky glitter flakes in it.
Yeah.
I did, even though that was on the SL1, I did go periodically every like 10 to 15 minutes and go in and stir when it was lifting, because yeah, the mica doesn't settle out that fast on the SL1. That chunky glitter was like, just, I mean, it might as well have been weighted. It just wanted to stay on the bottom.
Chris.45 said strap an
Orbital
sander motor to the
Oh
printer
my
chassis.
God.
You know, I don't know if the chat is being useful or if they're giving me really bad ideas, but I think it's somewhere in between, because they
Just get
know
one of those
I
old
can do
unbalanced washing machines and stick your printer on that.
You have not been on the maker calls when I've talked about what we're going to do, have you?
Oh no. I've missed the last few because my daughter has karate on that day.
We are gonna build a centrifuge and put a printer in it.
Yes.
I think we said 10,000 subs for that. I think is what the agreement was. I think that's what we're gonna do for that. Maybe I said 25,000. I don't know. I got a school out in Pennsylvania to assist us with it.
Oh my God.
So.
It'll be glorious.
Oh man. So I know we got to wrap it up. I've taken up so much of your time today, so I appreciate you hanging out. And the fact that the little one has not showed up is amazing to me. Your daughter is so well behaved.
There may have been a deal with the devil made.
What was the bribe?
There was a promise of Target and a toy if she left me alone.
Well, let me know. I think we'll be able to contribute to the toy fund a little bit, because I appreciate your time on this one. But yeah, this has been awesome. Any final closing thoughts that you want to give? In terms of anything, and please, again, pimp out what you do, because I know there are people in here that love it.
Go print in glitter. It absolutely can be done. I'm sick of seeing people say that it can't be done and it's not possible because they've tried it and it's failed. It's possible. I have put the information out there on how to do it. It's there. how to get successful prints, how to make sure that you get the most bang for your buck in terms of um, visual punch, because how you print the parts also plays a part. It's go do it. I want to see more people printing in glitter and mica and additives.
You have
and
motivated me.
things. And
I'm gonna do a series on it because I can.
good.
But
Good.
you have motivated me. I'm gonna reach out to a company to get some resin because I don't want to spend a ton of money making. This
Yeah.
is not a cheap video to make. This
Yeah.
series is gonna cost a few $100s worth of resin.
For Mica, reach out to Alien 3D. He carries
He's local.
yeah, he carries some really nice mica. In fact, I have a lot of the mica that he carries, and I use it. It's really good mica. It's ethical mica. That's the other. I'm gonna little bit of a tangent
No,
here.
get on that soapbox. Up on that soapbox.
There's different types of mica. There's mica that is it's not really farmed. I guess it's mined because it is a mineral by child labor. So if you're getting mica, make sure it says that it's either synthetic mica or it's ethically sourced mica that does not involve child labor.
I did not know that was a thing. I mean, that.
I did not either until I started getting heavy into mica, and I actually had somebody come message me that is in the resin pour hobby. And they were like, do you know about ethically sourced mica? And I was like,
I always figured
now?
mica was like synthetic
Mica.
the entire time.
Yeah, no, there's two different types of mica. There's synthetic mica and natural mica, which is a mined mineral. And there's a lot of the mica is mined via child labor.
No,
so yeah,
screw that. Synthetic all day.
Synthetic or ethically sourced mica that's not done via child labor.
Assuming it's like reasonably biodegradable too, because like,
well,
we don't need more microplastics around here.
Yeah, no. The synthetic mica is made from I think it's made from seaweed. So it's not really synthetic in the terms of like a manufactured chemical. It's just not the mineral. It's not the mined mineral. There's also like biodegradable. Right? Yeah, there's also biodegradable glitter which is made out of seaweed. So
I said, all right, I want to do a series on this, printing in mica, printing in glitter, and learning it, because if no one sees it, I know Tom Sadlatter did a video on it.
Mm-hmm.
But he had very mixed results. Like,
yeah, and a lot of it, I could pinpoint exactly what he did wrong. Most of it was just print. You have to print a certain way to get the visual punch on the mica prints. You have to go against what you know in terms of resin printing and how you orient your parts. So it's a learning curve in that regard, but overall it's mostly just throw stuff in your vat and press play.
I'm gonna try to print with sewing needles. What could go wrong?
Yeah, like I said, there is an upper limit there. You can't, you're not gonna be able to throw like Tonka trucks into your vat and.
Don't tell me what I can and can't do.
But yeah, I go print in glitter. It's fun. It's addictive.
Don't get glitter everywhere.
Oh, you're gonna get glitter everywhere. I'm sorry. That's just thinking about it gets glitter everywhere.
I've been thinking about it, and Amber did just come back. Oh, is there a glitter cannon waiting for me as soon as I step out of the office?
But yeah, it's fun. I really want more people to do it, so people will stop saying that it can't be done, because I've been doing it for 4 years now, something like that.
Your work is amazing. When I first I found your work through the Maker Hangout. That's how I first found your work. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It is amazing. Like, absolutely amazing work.
FDM gets all the fun, pretty filaments, and now you can have fun, pretty resins that are sparkly and
it's
shiny.
easy to make your own resin. It is. Your own colored resin. It's difficult to color your own filament.
Another thing that you can do that I can't really show on cameras because it's not a visual thing, you can scent your resin with scented oils that are made for food.
Someone call Peter Sassaman. We need to make this happen. If you guys don't know who Peter Sassaman is, he is the guy behind the Smell-O-Vision, basically.
Oh,
Scent VR. So Peter carries one of the largest inventories of essential oils and smells that exist. So he's my go-to guy whenever it comes to, I want something to smell. I call Peter.
This little pumpkin smells like orange.
No kidding.
Yeah, he smells like orange. So, but yeah, you can you can put essential oils that are for like food grade, in, as long as it doesn't have alcohol. Again, as long as it's not alcohol based.
No alcohol. Alcohol gets rid of resin. Those don't mix together.
But yeah, you can scent your resin too. So you can make it shiny and sparkly, and you can also make it smell like roses or peppermint or cinnamon or whatever you want.
So the better 3/4 is just getting into stained glass now, and I think we might have found another hobby for her. now that she can add glitter, mica, and essential oil to make it smell different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will that reduce the vulgar smell of resin? Or no?
I don't know, because the only ones that I've really ever tried it in is Simple and Fast. I haven't tried to put it in Blue or Tenacious, which are the more
they're really
obnoxious smelling ones. When you're printing it, it's not. I don't really smell it a whole lot when I'm printing it. The scent that I add, I only really start smelling it after I've cured and it's dry and everything, because I think just the resin's overpower. The uncured resin smell is overpowering. But it's present. It's definitely present when you, it smells like an orange. It's like somebody peeled a little cutie orange and then carved a pumpkin face into it. So
I might just do that just to do it.
Just to have smelly prints. Yeah.
But the good smelly, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's awesome. And now, where can the people find you?
I am on Twitter at MirrorADA. I know it's not my business name. And then everywhere else, I'm Synthetic Ephemera.
You can change your Twitter name, can't you?
Yeah, I can.
No point at this point?
Yeah, I've had that Twitter handle longer than I've had my printing stuff, so I just stuck with it.
I dig it.
But yeah, Synthetic Ephemera on Instagram, Synthetic Ephemera on Facebook, although my Facebook's mostly just me cross-posting from Instagram.
That's what my Instagram is, mostly me cross-posting from YouTube, so I understand this.
And then my website's syntheticephemera.com.
Yeah, guys, go check her out. If you are into ball joint dolls, you have found the person to buy them from. Do not accept any replicas or copies. This is the person that you want to go to. Links to all of Synthetic Ephemera's work is in the description down below. But I think that about does it. We're over 2 hours, and that's kind of like the, all right, it's time to wrap it, level of call. But thank you all so much for hanging out. We appreciate it. Hopefully everyone learned a little thing. I learned way too much. I've got problems, and they're multiplying, and we got some issues here. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got some great content now planning in my head, all because of this. Because, I am determined to make all of this work, and I want to show that it's possible. But anyways, guys, stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome, and leave a dang like. Come on, get subscribed. We'll see you guys later.